My name is Justin Baker, and I've been working on websites for many years. And today, I'm going to talk about heading tags. And I'll cover four aspects. First, I'll explain what they are and why they're important. Second, I'll show you what they look like in the code of a website. Third, we're going to go over how to get your website to rank well in search engines with the proper use of heading tags. And fourth, I'll show you some real-world examples of how popular websites are using heading tags. Let's get started. A heading tag is a small piece of HTML code that is used to tell a browser how to display a piece of text. For example, you might want to display some text in green 16-point Times New Roman font. Now, if you want to apply that same font to multiple pieces of text, you don't want to have to write out the code for that every single time. You want to be able to reuse it. Now, heading tags let you do that. You could define your H2 tag as always being green 16-point Times New Roman font. Now, every time you want to use that font, you just type in the code H2 instead of having to write all the code for those specific attributes. Now, heading tags are also really important for search engine optimization because behind the title tag, the heading tags are going to be the most important thing that a search engine looks at on your web page to determine what the page is about. Alright, now let's see what heading tags look like in the code of a real website. I'm going to start with some really basic code and then we'll dive into the heading tags on popular websites later. So I'm working on a blank page on a website I own. It's designcollegetexas.com/test.html. It's perfectly blank. So I'm going to go into my HTML editing software. You can see I've got my header information up here, and then there's the body tag. And everything that's on the page is going to be in between our body tags. And I'm just going to put in basic h1 tag with the text test. Then we're going to close up that tag. And then I'm going to copy this, and paste it a few times. And then I'm going to go change the h1 tags to H2, H3, and so on and so forth. Just gonna take a couple seconds to get this right. I'm going to go through even H7 and H8 just to show you that those do nothing unless you define them. Alright, so we got that. I'm going to go ahead and save. Then we're going to go back to our browser and I'm going to hit refresh. And now you can see we've got a few entries. So at the very top, we've got the word test and an H1 tag. Obviously, it is the largest font on the page. And H2 is a little smaller, H3 is a little smaller, and so on down to H6. Now, when you get to H7 and H8, nothing happens. The browser just interprets that as regular old text because we haven't defined H7 or H8. And your browser's not going to recognize that unless you define it. Browsers are only going to inherently recognize H1 through H6 tags. Now, let's say you want your text to look a little bit different. You can actually set properties for each of those H1 through H6 tags. So I'm going to go back into my HTML editing and I'm going to pull up my CSS document, and right now it's completely blank, and I'm going to put in some code that defines the color on an H1 tag as green. If you're not used to coding websites, just trust me, that means green. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to go back to the browser and I'm going to refresh it, and there you go. Now the word test is in green. And you can go on setting any kind of properties. You can make it be purple. You can make it Arial instead of Times New Roman. You can make the font 72 or whatever you want. Alright, now let's talk about the SEO impact of heading tags. Now, search engines consider heading tags to be important because they are used to display text in big bold fonts. And you wouldn't want to put anything in a big bold font on your web page unless it was an important part of what the web page was about. Now, the H1 tag is the most important of the heading tags because it displays text in large letters. Now, normally you only want to have one H1 tag on a page, though there are some cases where you could get away with 2 to 3 if you have 2 to 3 highly differentiated sections on your website. With your H1 tag, you are essentially telling Google what the most important text on your page is. And if you want to rank well for something like red sneakers, let me get in my HTML editing software, then you might put an H1 tag of something like red sneaker information. All right. And then your H2 tags are going to be highlighting subsections of red sneaker information. So you might start out with an H2 tag of popular sneaker types, and you might have another H2 tag of, say, sneaker materials, and then you can put some information about popular sneaker types under the H2 tag. Let's say you have a bunch of information. You can even use the H3 tag to create separate subsections. So let's say under popular sneaker types, we're going to list brands with our H3 tag. And then we can go ahead and list, let's say, Nike, Adidas, Puma, et cetera, et cetera. You could even list, let's say, sizes. You could have an H3 tag for sizes and then have some size information, 8, 8.5, 9, and so on. Let me bring this up. And then under sneaker materials, you could do the same thing again. You could put some H3 tags with appropriate information. So I'm going to go ahead and enter an H3 tag for the word leather. You know, leather is a sneaker material, and then I'm going to have some information about leather on red sneakers. And plastic. Plastic is another subheading of the sneaker material section. So I've got a header for plastic, and then I've got some information about plastics. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to go back to the browser and refresh, and you can see what it looks like. We've got our H1 tag here up the top. It's still green because I haven't changed that. And then the H2 tag is displayed as almost as big, popular sneaker types. The H3 tag is a little bit smaller, and then we've got our regular text. So the idea is to use your heading tags to kind of create a hierarchical understanding of your information on your page. Now, the one really important thing, if you haven't spent a lot of time with SEO, is that you don't want to try to manipulate how Google understands your website. For example, you don't want to use a ton of H1 tags because that's seen as being spammy. Google is set up to say, all right, H1 tags are really important, so just use 1, maybe 2 or 3, and you'll still be having that text recognized as being really important. So you're just not going to get away with any spammy tricks. Like, let's say you wanted to fool Google into thinking your page was really about red sneaker information when really it's about porn. So you put red sneaker information in your H1 tag, then you go into your CSS and make the text really small and white so a person can't actually see it. You want to be open and upfront with your coding about Google. Just have that H1 tag be important information. All right, now let's look at a real-world example of a website that's doing a good job of using heading tags. So here for our example, I've got a Wikipedia page for search engine optimization. Now you can see here at the very top, the word search engine optimization is in big bold letters. So you might be thinking that's an H1 tag, so we're going to find out. I'm just going to right click my mouse, and then I'm going to click view page source. And if you've never looked at the source code, don't be intimidated by any of this. All we're going to do is do a Control F, which is the browser command for find, and we're going to type in H1, and the browser is going to find everywhere H1 shows up on the page. So we found an H1 tag, and you can just ignore this stuff. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that the text on the page is search engine optimization, and then they close the H1 tag. So if we go back here, yes, this is in an H1 tag. So Wikipedia is telling Google, hey, this page, more than anything else, is about search engine optimization. If we go back to the source code and we look for more instances of H1, you'll see there's only 2. That's the opening of the H1 tag and the closing of it. So they're just using this one piece of text, search engine optimization, with your H1 tag. It's very much playing by the rules. So now I'm going to search for the H2 tag. We can see the word contents in the H2 tag. So let's go back to Wikipedia and see where that is. And it's right here. It's the word contents above the table of contents. So that doesn't tell us a whole lot. Let's go and look at the next H2 tag. It's for the word history. And well, what do you know? We've got the word history right here in big bold letters, but not quite as big and bold as search engine optimization. So it's just like what we've been going over. The H2 tag is a little bit smaller than the H1. If we look for another H2 tag, the next one is for the text relationships with search engines. If we go here, you can see there's history, then there's relationships with search engines. I'm just going to scroll down. There it is in big bold letters, relationships with search engines. Now, one of the reasons Google pays attention to this stuff, it's not really a trick. It's about Google wants to find web pages that present a great user experience to people. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, when you're looking for an answer to a search query, you don't want some long rambling blog post. You want information that is really well organized. And by using your heading tags in this way, you're essentially forcing yourself to put your information on your web page in a really organized way that's easy for people to use.